Hi everyone, I'm Zach, and welcome to my very, very messy desk. So, I've been a writer for the better part of 2 decades at this point. I've written and finished, I'll say, the first drafts of 15 books, and I just published my first one. So, with general introductions out of the way, I'm just going to try to do this off script. I might reference my notes for some key points, but that's really the most I'd like to do because otherwise it comes off really mechanical. When I read things from a script, it's robotic. So I have always loved developing magic systems. And one of the things that a lot of people talk about, and I know I'm not striking any new points here, but I wanted to give my opinion on it as a writer, is hard versus soft magic systems. So I'm going to use a few key examples, and I want it to be clear that in no way does it take away from the IP that I'm talking about if I'm critical of it. I'll use a specific example, which I'm going to reference a lot, which is Harry Potter. I absolutely love Harry Potter. I love it to death. But the magic system drives me absolutely nuts. It is a very soft magic system, very few rules that actually do apply. It seems like they try to have rules, but I'll get to it. So what's the difference between a hard and a soft magic system? Just to explain it before I get into the minutia. So a soft magic system is, at least in general, it's one that doesn't have a lot of clarity around its rules, its properties, or what it's capable of. So it's not science, it's magic. The way you would traditionally think of it, sort of the inexplicable, it can't be fully researched or documented, that kind of thing. That's a really soft magic system. And a hard magic system would be closer to sort of the scientific approach. You can experiment, doing the same thing will get you the same result, and you can draw very clear connections between, cost and benefit. You can outline the rules in a book very clearly and always depend on the same results. You understand it, essentially. And for me, a very good example of a soft magic system would be Harry Potter. It seems like at times they try to go towards a hard magic system, but it doesn't end up getting there. And a lot of that is because it's not really clear. Do you actually need a wand? Is it the pronunciation of the words? Is the actual language magical? They spend all these years studying it, but for all of that, it's not clear what actually causes improvement in a wizard. Is it just repetition? If it's being able to pronounce the words better, then somebody really good with linguistics who had a very good mouth would be a better wizard than somebody who had, a speech impediment. And that seems odd. Secondary to that, there's nonverbal magic. And so you don't actually need to say the words, but apparently saying the words does help. So it seems like they were trying to go in the direction, or she was trying to go in the direction of the words, the language, and the wands themselves being like focal lenses for magic. But at the same time, that's not made particularly clear. And then it gets really confusing when you start thinking about the transfer of wand ownership. And as much as the idea of the wand choosing the wizard is an interesting and sort of catchy idea, apparently taking a wand out of somebody's hand physically counts as winning, meaning that you just took every wand that belongs to them, not just the wand that you physically took out of their hand. Like I said, it would be really hard to fully wrap my head around the magic of Harry Potter or to fully explain it, because I don't think it's explained in a way that is concrete. Now, an example of soft magic that I think is done very well is Game of Thrones magic and A Song of Ice and Fire. It is not terribly clear what is going on with magic, what magic is real versus what isn't. It isn't made obvious whether prophecy actually has that much value, but the characters seem to follow it at times, and some seem to doubt it. But it does present a sense of wonder, which is what I think soft magic systems do very well. They bring the inexplicable, they bring a sense of awe. You don't need to explain it because the point is that it's inexplicable. Now, where that presents a problem with something like Harry Potter is that the whole book is about magic school. So you kind of need to understand the magic if you're learning about a magic school that's supposed to be teaching you these rules. And yet you have kids that can do things without even knowing what they're doing, so it's not about intention. I could go on for a really long time about Harry Potter. And if that's, something that's of interest to people, I would gladly fully dissect Harry Potter and take the time and actually make a full set of notes. But I didn't want to linger just on Harry Potter for that long. So I'm a huge fan of Lord of the Rings. And Lord of the Rings has multiple magic systems. The ring, for an example, is a hard magic system, being that you put the ring on, you turn invisible, it corrupts you. The advantage is pretty clear. You're invisible. The act is clear. You put the ring on. And the cost is clear, that you start to move into the shadow world. You start to become a wraith. The part that's a little less clear about it, a little more nebulous, is that it is dependent on the power of the holder of the ring to determine how much, power it gives. But we never see an example of anyone wearing the ring other than the short sort of examples of Sauron. And so we sort of assume that's the case. It's a corruptive force. It has less of an effect on hobbits than humans, but we only have those minor comparisons to draw. So that's where it lingers in soft territory a little bit. But Gandalf's magic is very soft. The whole point of it is that he doesn't use it a lot. It's not well understood. And it's an answer to a problem without, much else. But since it's not terribly overused, they don't need to explain where that answer comes from. And I think there's where I come into sort of my thoughts on hard versus soft magic. I think a good magic system, and I'll be clear, I prefer hard magic systems. I like rules. I have a more scientific mind in terms of that. And I like to know the results and have sort of a system that stands on its own. I don't need to invent anything new. All the rules are there. It's just about how you manipulate them, what situations you make with them, and how the magic system itself could answer those situations without breaking the rules. Adding a new power out of nowhere without much explanation is a very soft magic thing to do, where using a power that's already written about, it's already explained, but you use it in a unique way. You use those rules and sort of step around them slightly, or at least bend the purpose of what you're doing. So, a lot of what I do is developing magic systems. I spend an incredible amount of time doing it. I like to know the rules very clearly so that the way they interact is more or less obvious. I don't write all of it down, but in the appendices and the encyclopedias of the things that I write, the magic systems are detailed painstakingly. It's incredibly dry to read, which is why I don't put it in the novels. But an example, I'll just use a simple one of the book that I just published, Moonlight Mirror, is the magic in that is entirely based on a language. The words themselves are magic. To speak them has a dramatic cost, which is directly related to what you're trying to do. And you don't get a whole lot out of it. It's really, you can heal somebody with a certain word, but you almost kill yourself doing it. And the healing that is provided is very specific. You can sew up their wounds and sort of make the skin fresh again. That takes a lot of strength out of the caster. Or you can sort of create new blood for them. And both of these things, doing them together, would almost certainly kill a normal person. And so the thing that makes you special is essentially this well of power that you're drawing from, which in this book and the others related to it are, that well is your soul. And your soul is what enables your body to heal itself. So if you use too much magic, you'll stop healing. A small scratch will not get better until your soul has replenished, and that just happens automatically. If you drain it all the way, you just die. Your body falls apart, and that's it. But the rules are very clear, they're very strict. But even saying that, there are ways to get around it, right? You use a small amount of magic to do a small thing, but you do it repeatedly. You give it time to come back, to replenish, and that enables you to do more things. Blowing all the magic at once is a way to get yourself killed, but metering it out, slowly you make your reservoir of magic bigger. That was the general idea. Even though I didn't really put that much magic in Moonlight Mirror, the system for it was developed heavily beforehand. And just in general, I think that in my writing style, it helps to make the rules, present a situation, and then let the rules further that situation. It's like doing sort of theoretical conversations on, well, what if this? What would happen down the road? And so I like to build the systems, build the world and the cultures, and then say, well, this happens. And then down the road, given however much time, what would the rules that I've already built do? Where would the magic come in? What would be the effects of it on society? What would be the effects of society on the magic? And vice versa. So with all of that in mind, I could go on about this for a very long time. I've done it before. But in general, those are my preferences are for those sort of three rules, in that being the any good magic system, in my opinion, and I stress this is my opinion, has three things relatively clear, which would be the advantage it gives you, the relationship between the advantage, and finally the cost. So being, you have whatever power it gives you, and then what it takes away, and how those two things intermingle. So it doesn't always have to be that mathematical and that transactional, but just in general, you can draw those conclusions pretty clearly with a number of things. The cost could be something like risk or unpredictability. Unpredictability is fine. It doesn't have to make it a soft magic system. That just has to be the nature of it, right? So if the advantage is that you could do something, but it's not guaranteed, there's a chance, like something like luck. Luck could be a huge advantage, but it's not a guarantee. It's also kind of a nebulous idea in itself. And then the relationship between them. Well, how much risk are you giving for how much reward? And so you can turn luck into a very hard magic system. And I think there's a lot of value in at least knowing yourself what your magic system entails. I think leaving magic as a cure-all is sort of problematic. It tends to draw a lot of weird lines in weird directions that just feel contrived. Like I said, these are my opinions, and it's my first video, so, give me a break. But, if you enjoyed it, feel free to subscribe. Like I said, my name's Zach, and if you feel like reading any of my work, like I said, I did just publish Moonlight Mirror. You can look for it on Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, any of the major retailers. Just look for Moonlight Mirror by Zachary D. Lohaus. And I hope you have a wonderful day.